Hi, and welcome back to Prosper Geek. Today we are learning the foundation base chain in crochet. In this whole series of how-to videos, from intro to crochet, foundation base chain, and single crochet, and also working in the round, is so that we can all be on the same page for when I start doing a series of cross stitching on crochet fabric. And we're going to be doing different things like hats, scarves, bookmarks, and blankets and things like that. So that's what these are for, just to give a foundation for anybody who may know how to cross stitch but has never crocheted before and maybe wants to learn. So I already did an intro to crochet video that you can check out. The link to it is in the description. So what we're going to do here is I have this skein of yarn that I got from Michaels. It's one of their house brands. And what we're going to do is, in order to get an end of the yarn, we kind of have to look in both ends. And what we're going to see here is one end is kind of tucked in. So we're going to pull that end out. And usually, whatever end this outside end pulls out of, you want to go to the opposite end. And we are just going to stick our fingers right in the middle. And we are going to gut the very, very, very center. Just feel around for it and start pulling. And what you're going to get is this little chunk of guts where you will have your center yarn. Because the way this skein works is you want to work from the inside out so that your yarn can just sit in one place as you pull the yarn out, as opposed to the outside strand, which will then start flipping the yarn all over the place when you start pulling on it to continue your work. So we have this little chunk here, and all we're going to do is start pulling it out to where we can get, here's the end. Okay. Sometimes you can get it really easily, and sometimes you end up like pulling out the entire middle of the yarn, which can be frustrating. Here we have our end. And what we're going to do is, the first thing we have to do is make a slip knot so that we can have a loop to start with. And basically all crochet is a series of loops that you're pulling through each other in order to make a fabric. And you can make all different kinds of stitches based on this method, and all you need is one little hook in order to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a loop, and we're going to have the tail end on top, okay? And then we're going to pull that top loop back and through the hole we made. And then we're going to pull tight, okay? So we have a tail on one end, and we have the rest of the yarn that we're going to be working through on the other end. Now you can size this loop by pulling on your tail, okay, and it makes the loop smaller. So you're going to put your hook in that, okay, and you're going to tighten it so it fits your loop, so that it fits your hook. And then you're going to leave the tail to the side, and you're going to work with the rest of the yarn, okay, and there you go. So to make a base chain is very simple. All you're going to do is pull a series of loops through each other. But the one thing that we need to talk about, and that's the one thing that you're going to have to practice on your own to kind of get it right yourself, is tension. Now tension is basically how tight you're pulling your stitches. So as you wrap the yarn and pull them through each loop, how tightly you make each loop is your tension. And you don't want it to be too tight, and you don't want it to be too loose, and most importantly, you kind of want it to be the same for each stitch. You want to be consistent with your tension, and that takes some time to kind of get that down. But the best way to do that is to do projects like, you know, scarves or bookmarks or hats or dishcloths, things like that. That's how you practice and get your tension down to a consistent level. So what we're going to do here is we are going to wrap the yarn and How we're going to do that is by wrapping back to front. So we have the yarn at the back, and we're going to wrap it over the hook like this. And then we are going to hold the loop that's on the hook, and we're going to pull this new one through it like that. So now you have one chain on your hook right there, and then you have a new loop. So then what you're going to do is, with the yarn at the back, you're going to wrap back over the top to the front and not let your yarn slip. And then you're going to pull this new one through again. So now you have two chains on your hook. So wrapping back to front, pull it through. So now we have three. Back to front, pull through. Now we have four. Now the one thing you're going to do, and this is how I hold my hook, I hold it kind of like the fork way, I guess they say. Like if you hold a knife or fork, you kind of lay it across your hand like this. And I like this method because I usually keep my pointer finger on the yarn at all times so that it doesn't move all over. It kind of holds it in place. But another way to hold it is called the pencil method, which is you're going to hold it as if you're writing something. And I don't like this method because it's very hard for me to hold onto the yarn. But again, you'd just wrap from back to front, and then you'd pull it through like that. Wrap it back to front, pull it through like that. So you can hold it kind of like a pencil. Now, I mean, you can search on YouTube for videos of how to hold a crochet hook and different things like that, and I'm sure you'll get all different kinds of methods. But what's important is to find a way that feels comfortable to you so that you feel like you can manipulate the yarn and fabric comfortably without it falling off and without you getting frustrated, which is the most important part. So I hold mine across my fingers like this. And I can't even tell you how I came up with that because I learned to crochet from a book. I didn't have anyone teach me. So I'm not even sure how I came up with this, doing it this way. I don't think I had a choice. I just think I just kind of was like, that's the way to do it and that's how you got to do it. So again, we have our yarn at the back. We're going to wrap back to front like this. And then we're going to pull it through, wrap back to front, pull it through, and I kind of twist my hook a little bit to get it to go through, and you can go as fast or slow as you need to. And again, I'm pinching my fabric, I'm holding onto it so that it doesn't move as I'm pulling it through. Now, if you get your loop a little too tight, then you can't get your hook through it to get the new loop on, and that goes back to tension of how loose or tight you're making your stitches. Now, something that might help you if you find that you're making your stitches a little too tight, you might try using a larger hook with the yarn that you're using. That might help you make looser stitches. So for example, the yarn we're using is a size 4 medium weight yarn, and it calls for, you know, like a G hook, an H hook, or an I hook, and I'm using an H. So if you're using an H hook and your stitches are a little too tight, maybe try going up a size and doing a size I hook or something like that, and that might help you as you're practicing your stitches. So again, back to front. And we'll do a few more. Okay. Then we're getting a pretty good chain going here. And now what you will notice is it almost looks like a braid, and you're going to see all these different loops intertwined with each other, and in the next video you're going to see that we'll actually be putting our hook through these loops in order to work our next row, which is our next to build up the fabric with our next stitch. But we will learn that in the next video. Again, you know, we start with our slip knot, and then we tighten it on our hook, and then we start wrapping stitches from back to front and pulling through loops, and that is it. That is the base chain. Now this is a good stitch to start with if you're trying to work out your tension, to practice this stitch in particular so that you can make each chain, let me see, so that you can make each chain consistent and equal to each other. So in the front we have a braid, and in the back we have kind of the back of the braid, but there's a bump going through each stitch down the middle. So that is the back. Okay? So practice that a little bit and then come back for the next video, which is the single crochet stitch, and that will be working into your base chain. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and it helped you at all, please leave a like so that others can find it. If you have any suggestions or questions or comments, please leave them below the video and we will have a chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.